Alright, hello everyone. It's a rainy weekend, so I'm making a lot of videos, and I want to do a video on how I store my block and tackles. I'm not an expert, but I do have a couple sets on the shelf behind me, and I use these to assemble and disassemble my medieval trebuchet. And I've done that more than a dozen times, and this is very useful. Every time I do that, I have to take it out and put it back away. So I've kind of got a system going on for how I store it, and I want to show that to you. You see a lot of videos on YouTube, people have block and tackles, they go to use it and everything's tangled and it's a rat's nest and a mess, and you have to, invert things and make sure it's rigged correctly, and that's not what you want. You want something that's cleanly packaged that you can set aside, and when you go to use it, it's going to be ready to use. So I've got a 6-to-1 system here. This is the top block and the bottom block. It's rigged perpendicular, actually. That's important. It helps it from torquing, reduces friction when you're using it. So I've got the blocks here, and then hung below them is the coil of rope. So it all starts with this hitch around the tackle. I have a slipped clove hitch around the tackle blocks. This keeps it so it won't expand on you. You can tug on this and it won't expand. Keeping it nice and short keeps it predictable, and you can inspect it and make sure it's not twisted or inverted or anything. And it's actually a pretty legitimate way to kind of seize off a tackle, because once you do this, you're putting the friction in it, and it's fighting friction already, so nothing's going to go anywhere. So I have my slipped clove hitch. There's the tag end for that, and the slip loop. And then this is the fall line of the tackle, actually, that goes down to the coil. So what's holding the coil is the slipped clove hitch. And it goes down to a bite coil hitch on the coil. So you can jerk this around, swing around, throw it somewhere, and the coil's not going to go anywhere. It's hanging nice and solid. You can pick this up, move it around. I actually have an entire set stuffed in a duffel bag just below me, and I can take it in and out of the duffel bag. I know it's not going to be tangled. So when I want to deploy this, all I have to do is pull the tag in and undo my clove hitch. And then you can see, once the clove hitch isn't holding it, the fall line drops my coil. So you can't hitch it off with this line, because this line wants to come out of the coil. So now I've undone my slipped clove hitch. Now I just have to undo my bite hitch. Plunk. And now I have my coil with the counter wraps on it. And you don't even need to undo these counter wraps. This right here is ready to go and ready to be used. So I can hang this on something. Let's see here. Let's hang it the other way. Yep. And now I can extend it. But as I extend it, I need to be feeding it slack. That's where the coil comes in. All you have to do, if you've coiled this properly, is literally just pull the line out of the coil. And it can get kind of tight and bind up, but if you've done this right, there shouldn't be any tangles as you come out. And you can literally just feed it slack as you go, and you're ready to use. So And when I'm doing this out on the field, I can literally hand this to someone and have them walk backwards with it. And they'll feed out slack as they go. So all you have to do is just pull the line out of the coil. Nothing gets tangled, nothing's caught up. There's no kinks in your line. This is totally what you want. And then when you get to the end, it just unwraps itself. So now I have my tackle all hooked up and I'm using it. I should mention I have an I-splice here. That's important for strength A lot of people tie knots, but that reduces the strength in the ropes. So now let's say I've just made a mess of this and I want to store it up. So I'll show you how I do that. First thing you do is shrink the tackle back down. You do not want to store your tackle while it's extended, because that's a recipe for it to invert and get kinks in it. So what I mean by invert is when you take the lower block and flip it upside down. And then you can go to use it and you go, wait, why is it all twisted? What happened here? And really it's just this lower block, and you got to flip it back out. So when you store it long like that, it can let the block invert, and it can also twist up and do a whole bunch of things. So we shorten it up to keep it nice and predictable. These blocks have a little bit of some wood sticking out that's catching some of my rope. I need to file that off so it doesn't shrink up smooth. When it's got tension on it, it does really well, but okay, that's about good. Yeah, you can see I'm chafing my rope a bit here, so I need to fix that. But now that I've got it shrunk up, I'm actually going to set this, well, let's see if I can do this like this here. Now I want to start my coil just below the tackle as it hangs, so that the coil will hang free and not interfere with it. So I'm going to start about here, and this is just standard 3-strand right lay rope, so you always want to coil clockwise. And one of the ways that I've taken to coiling is wrapping it around my elbow, and you can see I'm coiling clockwise. So now after you do this a little while, you're going to run out of elbow, so you have to kind of work back. And you can say that is coiling counterclockwise, but it's just the one turn. So usually this works really well for me. I don't get any kinks in the rope, so I'm going to coil this up here. Now on bigger lines, I actually have a big set of tackle over here. You can do larger coils, you can do arm span coils. Or if you have a lot of rope, you can coil on the ground. Just make sure if you're doing right lay rope that you coil clockwise. This is 100 feet of rope. Okay, I'm getting towards the end of my coil now. And let's see here. We'll find out if I judge the length correctly. So I'm going to slip the coil off my arm. And now I'm going to do my counter turns. And I'm also doing the counter turns clockwise. It's a bit hard to cinch this up, but if you're careful, you can get them nice and tight. And while you're doing this, keep your hand in the top here, so that you prevent anything from getting kind of tangled up here, because you're going to want to go through this top coil eventually. I'm going to continue with my counter turns. Now I'm running out of rope, so let's see if we can just finish this off. What you do is you take a bite. A bite is just a loop. You stick the loop through the coil and out the back. And then you take your tag end and you put it through the loop. Now you've got your bite coil hitch, and your coil's all seated and it's not going anywhere. So now all I have to do is hitch it off to my blocks here. So, might not be able to do this while I'm holding it nice and close. I'm going to go back far away here. Normally I do this on the ground, but just for the sake of filming, Okay, here we go. So I'm going to do my clove hitch and stick a bite through it to finish it off. Okay. And there you have it. So we've got our blocks, and you can see they're nice and perpendicular, and it's taken up, so nothing's going to invert on you, nothing's going to twist. It's holding the coil by the bike coil hitch, so the coil's not going to come undone. And when you go to use this, all you have to do is pull on your tag end. So I misjudged how much rope I had left. It would be good to do a couple more counter turns, and you can see I'm almost out of tag on my hitch here, but that worked pretty well. So this is how I store it, and how it is here. You can throw it in a duffel bag, like I said, and nothing's going to get tangled. You know, you can collapse it up like this. Really, the best way to go, though, is if you had a coat hanger. Hang it up somewhere on a coat rack, and then it's nicely displayed for everyone to see. So, but yeah, that's how I store my block and tackles.